Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CRM MVP podcast, episode number 108. We've been around Dynamics for years now with the podcast, since 2017, and obviously working with Dynamics for longer than that. I started back in 2006, and we've seen Dynamics go through a lot of changes, or I guess the Microsoft CRM product go through a lot of different changes over the years, but I'm super excited to talk about some of the latest changes that they've gone through. And, I'm going to start this episode by saying that I don't think this is going to be a long episode. I think this is going to be, kind of short, but I always feel like all my episodes are going to be short and I end up talking for an hour. So we'll see how it goes. But what I mainly want to talk about is what has changed in Dynamics as a whole over the last week or so, and also kind of give you some news around the podcast and around, kind of like my participation as an MVP as well. I feel like over the last year or so, because of the pandemic, everyone has kind of like mellowed out. Everyone kind of like took a step back and did less, maybe because opportunities were more scarce, right? There weren't a whole lot of events out there. Even virtual events went down. I feel like, there was a lot more opportunities for webinars and things like that. And I think that, and this is something we already covered in the show before, I think that the kind of the downfall of dynamic communities and the fact that they kind of, collapse really removed a lot of those opportunities that I feel it was being driven by them to have webinars and to have those in-person meetings for the local chapters. And there was just a lot of opportunities out there. And I understand that, there are organizations out there like DynamicsCon that are coming out and trying to fill that gap. But, the dynamic communities was really focused on creating all these opportunities for MVPs and other experts to share their expertise, and for people that wanted to learn from us to attend these sessions as well. And I attended those sessions as well. Of course, they didn't do this for free. They were a company, a for-profit company, and once that profit kind of went away and their focus kind of shifted more towards in-person events, the focus and the prioritization of live webinars and stuff like that kind of fell through the deep end. And I feel like the same is happening with DynamicsCon. Is all focus on the conference. At least this is from me. I'm not involved a whole lot with them, but it seems to me that it's more about this conference happening every year and less of an ongoing thing. So the opportunities for MVPs and other experts out there to contribute are kind of they have decreased over time. However, Microsoft decided that because those opportunities went down, it wouldn't be fair to judge MVPs on their amount and the quality of their contributions over the last 12 months compared to what they've done before because of the pandemic. Meaning, look, if you've done, I don't know, let's just say on a scale from 0 to 100, you've done 90 or 100, right, on what it comes to contributions to the community, they understand that with the pandemic, if they were to judge you using the same rules they used to give you that 90 or that 100, you would probably are going to score way lower, right? You would score a 40 or a 30 or whatever, because the opportunities are way less. But yet, they decided that because of that, because they couldn't use the same rules or give out the same scores, that this year was going to be kind of like a pass year. They announced this a long time ago, by the way. They said, like, no matter what you do, you will be renewed for another year, because we understand that the opportunities were not there. I think some of the MVPs disagreed with this approach. I don't know if I would say that I agree 100%. I feel like it's hard to judge all the MVPs based on my own experience, because what I do is I try to come up with content as much as possible, and I've said this multiple times. I don't know if there's a magic number, like a minimum number in which once you do that, you get the MVP award next year. I have no idea. If there is, I don't care. I'm going to do as much as possible. And if Microsoft ever feels like what I've done is not enough, since I already did as much as possible, I am not going to be disappointed and say, well, I lost my MVP award because I slacked off, or I could have done more. No, I feel like every year I get the award, I feel like I did as much as possible. Like I couldn't have done more. I did, as much as I could. And that was true this year too, even though it was announced, and I think it was, I have no idea how long ago, 8 months ago or whatever it is. It was announced that, the whatever contributions you didn't really matter, that you were going to get renewed. All of the MVPs were going to get renewed. Again, this was met with celebration from a lot of MVPs. They were kind of concerned that they hadn't done enough. But to me, like I never slow down. I continue to put out podcasts. I continue to put out videos, speak whatever I could, like as much as possible as I've always done. But I think, again, I wasn't the only one that saw that coming. I think that, someone like Mark Christie, for example, who's another MVP, instead of, posting out there that he was humbled and honored to receive another MVP award like 99.9% of MVPs did, he was honest. I appreciated the honesty on LinkedIn, and I was trying to find the article. Let me see if I can find it, because I think he set a good example. I don't know if I agree 100% with what he's talking about, and I can't find. I don't know why now LinkedIn doesn't show me a search bar. I'm trying to find it. It just goes into a feed, and I can't even find a search bar. So I don't know where it is. But Mark Christie basically shared that, he started the podcast with, let's face it, this was a buy year. This was a gift. This is not real. The renewal wasn't deserved by all MVPs. Of course, a lot of MVPs deserve it, but not everyone deserved it if you are judging it based on previous years. And he said he wanted to take the opportunity to not just be like, wow, that's awesome, another year, and keep the foot off the pedal. He wanted to really focus on inclusion. He really wanted to focus on, diversity and bringing in people that are not typically featured in the MVP community, right? It's a lot easier when you're running a conference, when you're running an event, and really just include your friends, the people that and promote your friends' tools and promote your friends' blogs, blog articles and stuff like that. He said that is too easy, that he was going to try his best to promote people out there that are not as well known as his friends, which I hope, I'm part of that list. I'm good friends with Mark as well. And, I agree with his sentiment in terms of, this year being kind of like an off year, being like an auto renewal. We don't care what you did. You're going to get the award anyway. I feel like I agree with that sentiment. I think that, for some MVPs, they would have lost it if it wasn't this kind of year. So I'm happy for them that they get to keep it, I guess. But I also agree with the fact that no one really had to worry about. I think that this year exposed a lot of the MVPs that really just do the activities to get renewed. I feel like, before, when you are not an MVP and you're doing all this work, right, there are two kinds of people out there: the people that are doing it to get the MVP award, and then there are the people that are doing it because they love doing it. They love sharing information. They don't care about the MVP award. They want to have it because it's a good recognition. Is Microsoft saying, look, you're a most valuable professional in the community. Here's a recognition. But even if they knew that that wasn't coming, they would still do it because they like to do it. Like for me, I like to speak into a microphone no matter what. So I would do it regardless. If tomorrow I took a job with Microsoft, which means my MVP award is stripped out, I would still record the podcast. I mean, it's not going to go away. I don't care that there's no MVP award out there for me to collect or whatever. That's not a thing. But there's a lot of people out there that before they get the MVP award, they get discouraged. And those are the people that do it because they won the award. They do it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, 18 months. They keep doing this work and nothing happens. And about a year and a half, they're like, I forget it. And they stop blogging. They stop recording videos. They stop, being speakers in the community. They just take the foot off the pedal because they didn't get that instant gratification of an MVP award from Microsoft. And it's hard to get an MVP award. I mean, it's a lot of work. And people often ask, is like, would you do it again? All of the work that you did to get the award. And the answer is always yes, not to get the award. I would do the work because I enjoy it. I enjoyed sharing what I've learned with everyone, right? Whether there was an award or not. So I think this year exposed a lot of MVPs that are just doing it for the award. Like, there's a lot of people that didn't take their foot off their pedal, off the pedal, and they just kept on posting and posting 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, whatever. They got the award, and as soon as they get the award, we call this in martial arts the blue belt, effect. That when you're a white belt, you're working hard, you're going to class, you're taking all the training, and as soon as you get that next belt, which in jiu-jitsu, which is what I did, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's blue belt, people quit, right? So with MVPs, we very much have that blue belt effect in place too. People get the MVP award and they just take the foot off the pedal. They're sort of like, okay, I got it. This is much easier. I don't have to work as hard. I already got the award. And people even fall off the bandwagon. We have current MVPs today that were MVPs at some point. Then they took the award away. And then they said, okay, let me go back and do enough so I can get the award again. And I think those are the people that you can tell that as soon as Microsoft announced the fact that whatever activities you do don't count or they don't matter, you're going to get the award renewal anyway, they took the foot off the pedal. And you can tell that. So Mark Christie, mentioned that. I think a lot of, MVPs chimed in and agree with him. Some other ones did not. And it was an interesting, kind of dynamic to see. Some people received the MVP award, 3 days ago from when I'm recording this episode. And they received the MVP award fair and square, brand new MVPs. So congratulations to those who got it. You didn't have to get it. The pandemic, it's not like they gave an award to every applicant. You actually went through a review process and you earned it. So that was good. And, for me, I didn't post anything on social media. I don't know if you noticed that on LinkedIn or Twitter or anywhere. Like I updated like my title or whatever to say that I'm a 10-time MVP award winner now, but I didn't feel like celebrating because I was kind of like in the same camp as Mark. I was sort of like, I was looking forward to being a 10-time MVP because I've earned every year before that, I felt like. And I feel like this year I also earned it, but the fact that Microsoft, said that they were going to renew everyone no matter what, it kind of took the value of it a little bit for me. I mean, I hope that they agree that even if they did a review with the same criteria they used in prior years, I still deserve to be an MVP, even though there weren't as many opportunities to speak in person and all of that stuff. I still feel like I've done enough to be a valuable asset to the community regardless. But because, again, they renewed it for everyone, I felt like it was kind of a bummer for me. It was I was looking forward to that second blue disc. And for those of you who are not familiar, every 5 years that you're an MVP, an active MVP, like consecutively, you get an extra disc. We get an award. Again, this is in case you're not familiar with this. We get a glass award, a big award that says Microsoft MVP on it, and then you can put discs on the award. You can install them on it. You can probably find videos and stuff like that on YouTube to see it. But anyway, you put this disc, and every disc is a year, and it has the name of the year. Like if I'm looking at mine across the room over there, the first year at the bottom says 2012, and then every year after that. So I have all these discs stacking up, and I can see 5 years later, I have the 5-year MVP blue disc. It's like the other ones are kind of like translucent. They're not transparent. They're like white-ish. And then the 5 years a blue one, and they do that every 5 years. So at 10 years you get another blue disc, which again I was looking forward to, and it was kind of a downer because of the lack of activity. But again, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of changes. One of the change that I'm excited about that I wanted to talk to you about today was also announced on the same day that we all got renewed for MVP, and a few other people received the MVP award July 1st. So July 1st is always a special day for me personally, right? And the funny thing about July 1st is that there's a lot of things that happen at the same time. As you know already, that is the day every year where MVPs know or learn whether they will be renewed for another year or they will become part of the MVP Connect, I think it's called, family, which is former MVPs. July 1st is also my anniversary. So this year I received my 10th MVP award, and also is my 15th wedding anniversary with my wife. And July 1st is also my son's birthday. So he's 12. So all of those things happen on July 1st. And this year, one more thing happened on July 1st that I was really excited about. Microsoft announced a brand new set of pricing and licensing updates. Now, normally when Microsoft comes up with licensing updates, I roll my eyes. I sort of like, okay, thank you for giving me this homework. Now I have to go and read and learn all this stuff. But I was really, really excited about this one. I was excited about it because I was looking forward for the last few months, and I've talked about this on the show. For the last few months, I was looking forward to this day to see what happened. And the reason for that is that back in like March or April, Microsoft released this promotion for PowerApps. And as you know, I've been implementing PowerApps almost exclusively for the last couple of years. I have kind of abandoned the whole Dynamics 365 primary apps like sales and customer service and all of that in favor of PowerApps for a variety of reasons. And we've covered that on the show. And I'm also going to be doing, by the way, hopefully, if they approve it, a session about this on the UG Summit coming in October. And I'll take a second before we go into the whole licensing and pricing updates from July 1st. I'll take a second to say that I'm actually really looking forward to the UG Summit this year. Hopefully they accept one of my sessions. I submitted 12 sessions this year. I typically submit more. So for some of you who are like, wow, 12? I think last year I submitted 20, for example. I always like to give a bunch of options. There's a lot of stuff I like to talk about. And typically, the UG kind of committee, the people that select sessions, they kind of take about a third of the sessions and they, eliminate the other 2/3 of them. So I felt like I submitted 12 this year. Hopefully they'll pick 3 or 4 of them, whichever the committee decides is the most pressing topic or they want to learn more about it. And the way I do it is I typically submit about half the sessions will be my most attended or best reviewed sessions of last year. So I'll update the content for it if necessary. So I'll submit those again. And also I submit a bunch of new ones. And one of the new sessions that I submitted is really, understanding PowerApps and why I believe the 99.9% of companies out there are using Dynamics by mistake. They should be actually using PowerApps. And one of the reasons for that is that PowerApps is a lot less expensive than Dynamics. And Microsoft is actually really, really pushing companies to adopt PowerApps over Dynamics. Okay, so once again, we'll talk about that. But going back to the UG Summit, I am looking forward to being there in person. A few people have reached out to me asking me if I'm going to be there in person. I personally, and again, this is not against anyone, so please don't attack me on this one. I personally think the event should be in person only, like the way they've done it in the past. And the reason for that is that trying to make, and this is more about a selfish thing for me, trying to make the sessions virtual and in person always comes with issues. Like if you've ever been to a conference before, whether it is in a conference center or in a hotel, even if it's an amazing hotel, like I've been at conferences, 6-star hotels, the internet is always awful. All right. The internet, there's always problems with it. They reset it in the middle of it. That's why I kind of like pray to the God of IT every time I have a session that is heavy on demo, because the internet is always a pain. So this has nothing to, I'm not, discounting the fact that there's people out there that are immunocompromised that shouldn't be, in person with a bunch of people. Like, I totally get that. And I feel, bad for even saying that we shouldn't even have a virtual option. But I think that having a virtual option for speakers and for attendees is just calling for trouble. It's just basically, I have never been, and I've been to I don't know how many conferences and events before. I have never been to a conference where I left and I was like, wow, the internet was amazing. That connection was perfect. Connectivity, they killed it. Never, not once, after dozens and dozens and dozens of meetings. So I feel that making an option, for people to attend virtually is just a way to, create people to be disgruntled or mad about it. If it's not the connection, it's the microphone is not picking it up. If it's not the microphone, it's the sharing of the screen is not sharing right. And I just feel like we already are in a time crunch. Like, for me, I try to make these sessions as packed as possible. Like, I don't even have Q&A time. I say, like, look, if you have a question, just interrupt me. Like, we don't have time to like reserve the last 20 minutes of an hour or 50 minutes or 45 minutes, depending on, what time slot they give you. I don't have time to save that. So just ask questions along the way. I'll answer as part of the session. So I think that there are so many moving parts and so many things happening that trying to make this thing virtual or in person, or being virtual and in person, is too complicated, right? And we can see it. Last year, the conference was virtual. I don't know if I've seen a positive review of the conference. I mean, I've seen a ton of negative reviews. I didn't have issues. I mean, I presented from home. I think I had, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 sessions. I don't remember. And I shared my screen and everything seemed to work. Obviously, you see people in there, saying, I can't hear you. I can't see your screen. Let me log off, log back in. I think there's problems no matter what. I have a pretty decent internet here at home, and the fact that still there were a bunch of people that couldn't connect, couldn't see, or whatever, that's a problem. And I can only imagine if I'm doing this in a conference center, which are notorious for having the worst internet connection, and I'll be on Wi-Fi instead of hardwired the way I am here, at home. I personally recommend that they do it in person only. Again, this is not an attack on people that cannot attend in person. I wish you all could, but that's just my recommendation. So I'll be doing some sessions there. I'll be in person. I don't know if they're going to have a medics booth or not, but I hope you go. And if you have any questions or issues or whatever, stop me. I'm really, really looking forward to, spending time with everyone. Not only I had COVID last year, which I talked about in June. On top of that, I'm vaccinated. I have the double Pfizer vaccine. So I feel like at this point I should be immortal. So I'm looking forward to being with everyone in Houston in October. I haven't bought the tickets because none of my sessions have been selected yet, but I hope they honor me with giving me a few of those that I submitted so I can be there with you all and get back to normal-ish. All right. Okay, so let's talk about this pricing thing, because this is one of the sessions I submitted was, again, not only how to take advantage of that, but I think I also submitted a session about like, learn everything you need to know about licensing in 1 hour or less or something like that. I want to really simplify licensing. This is what you have access to. This is what Microsoft is doing. This is the license that is the best for you. This is what you can do with it. Just straightforward licensing, right? Instead of 400 plus slides, just 1 hour of me telling you the details. So I don't know if they'll approve either one of them. But this change came up on July 1st. Very excited because months ago, Microsoft released this promotion where they said, look, we're going to be offering the PowerApps license, which until that point, it was very inexpensive. A PowerApps per app plan was $10 a month. which means if you create a model-driven app, which is Dynamics basically, if you create a custom application and you give if you give your users access to that one application, you would pay $10 a month to use it. I mean, that is insanely cheap. That is 2 Starbucks cups of coffee, right? I mean, it's super cheap, very inexpensive to have a user leveraging this technology, like Dynamics, basically. So $10 a month, that's what it was up until like March or April. And then if you wanted unlimited apps, which I don't really see a whole need outside of like administrators, if you want to have unlimited apps, then you can pay $40, and then that gives you access to all of the applications. And $40 is way cheaper than $95 or whatever, the full price for Dynamics was. So obviously, if you need somebody that needs access to like 2 applications, you would buy 2 per apps, which will be $20 instead of $10. Still way cheap, right? So back in March or April, as I announced in this podcast as well, Microsoft decided to drop the price for only a few months until the end of June from $10 a month to $3 a month. $3. That is less than a cup of coffee at like Waffle House. Like, I'm not even talking Starbucks. Let's not get fancy, right? You go to the gas station, and I think a cup of coffee is more than $3 a month, or it's more than $3, right? So it was so inexpensive that I was mind blown. Now, they did add some kind of conditions. They said you have to buy at least 200 of those in order to qualify for the $3. But even at 200, like we have customers that have, let's say, 100 users, okay? They buy 200 licenses and they pay $600 a month. $600 a month for 100 people. It's nuts. It's amazing, right? It's crazy. So not only they did that, but they also said the $40 a month one, we're going to discount it to $12. Now, for this one was a little bit harder because they said you have to buy at least 5,000. And I think it was originally 2,000 licenses. But anyway, it was a lot of licenses. So it was sort of like, okay, like that. This is just a lot. But the cool thing about the $12 license, which is the PowerApps per user plan, meaning unlimited apps, is that you don't have to worry about anything. You can just create custom entities, float, like whatever you want, and everything was included. You just cannot use the first-party application stuff. Like you cannot use the product catalog and, quotes, orders, and invoices, and cases. You have to create a custom entity that does that. But once you create a custom entity, you're paying $12 a month for unlimited access to everything. It's amazing. It's a great promotion. So I was eager, looking forward to see what Microsoft was going to do once the time expired, because the expiration of that deal was June 30th of this year. So I'm like, well, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen July 1st? Are they going to go back to the 10 and 40? $10 versus $40 for, the per app or per user plan? Are they going to extend it? And Microsoft did hint that depending on the performance of that offer, they would extend it. I personally thought they would not extend it. I said, look, June 30th is a very strategic date, is the end of the fiscal year for Microsoft. I think that this is something they're doing because maybe by halfway, through the fiscal year, like in December or something like that, they noticed that the numbers weren't looking amazing. So they said, okay, you know what? Let's just do something crazy. Let's give this away like almost at cost. $3 a month. We're going to get millions of people to sign up, and, we're going to make our quota. And then that's it. We go back to normal or something like that. I thought that's what they were going to do. But we were waiting and waiting. June 30th happened. My last customer bought, I believe it was June 29th was the last day, because they were like, well, what if tomorrow the promotion is not available, whatever. I think their trial expired July 7th. So they were like, I don't want to risk it, so I'm going to activate it. They activated it on the 29th. So June 30th goes by. July 1st comes through, and Microsoft releases an announcement. And I want to read from it so we can all talk about what's going to happen. So once again, remember, the original price was $40 a month for the per user Power App plan, which means full access to everything except first-party applications like sales and customer service and field service and stuff like that. And $10 a month on a per app plan, meaning it's not really the user that matters, is access to one application, like a model-driven application. And by the way, that license also gives you access to Canvas app and a Power Portal. So even if you have a Canvas app embedded into your model-driven app, that's still $10 a month, right? But Microsoft came up with the promotion. So I'm going to read from it and we'll talk about it. July 1st, 2021. This is titled, and I'll include the link on the notes below, Pricing and Licensing Updates Coming to PowerApps. And I quote, "Today we're announcing pricing and licensing updates to PowerApps. In order to make the platform more accessible, whether customers are getting started with a small number of users or deploying at scale across the organization, we're reducing the price of PowerApps per user and per app plans. Also, the PowerApps per app plan entitlements are being simplified." That's awesome. When was the last time licensing was made simpler by Microsoft? I mean, I would love to hear that, right? They really, really listen on this one. So the following PowerApps licensing changes will go into effect on October 1st, 2021. So they're not available just yet, but they will come into effect October 1st. So less than 2 months from now, only a few weeks. Well, depending on when you're hearing this, if you're hearing this after October 1st of 2021, then this should be the pricing that we have today. First off, the Power Apps per user plan will be priced at $20 per month, per user per month, a decrease from a previous $40 per user per month. The plan will be available across Microsoft Commerce channels like volume licensing, cloud solution providers, and directly on the website. So people can just go, sign up, and pay, put their credit card in and buy it, all right, for $20 per user per month. Without, and this is the kicker, without any license minimums or other purchase requirements. I mean, how awesome is that? That if you're a small company and you have 5 people, let's just say, you're a small business and you have 5 people, you can be paying $100 a month for a top-of-the-line, world-class platform and CRM solution. Now, I get it. Before you start yelling, out wherever you're listening to this on the subway or something, I get it that creating the CRM solution costs money, or at least time and effort. If you don't want to pay anyone to do it for you, if you want to do it yourself, it will cost time and or money to create the solution. But once you have it in place, you'll be paying $100 a month for 5 people to have unlimited access to Dynamics or to your CRM solution, whatever that is called. It's unbelievable. The entitlements remain unchanged, including the ability for users to run unlimited apps and unlimited portals. And unlimited apps, model-driven, Canvas, portals, anything. This is unlimited access for $20 a month. It's unbelievable, right? Now, there are some limitations behind the scenes. This is not unlimited, meaning they do limit, for example, the number of API requests that you have in place, and not limited. They have a limit in there, but they're not enforcing it. And if you read the article, which I was reading a few days ago for an unrelated thing, because one of our customers was concerned that they were getting close to the limit. I was reading the article. It said something like, look, if and I love this. I wish I had it in front of me so I can read it, but it looks something like this. It said, look, if you go over the number, the limit, we're not going to stop you. If it goes over, so be it. If it goes over for a few days, that's fine, because it's a daily limit, like 5,000 API calls or API requests a day for a per user plan license. So you have 5,000 API requests every day that you can make. So they're saying, look, if a user goes over 6,000, 7,000, whatever, 8,000, that's fine. Like, we don't care. It only matters. Like, we'll only pay attention. Microsoft basically says, we'll only pay attention if it happens 14 days or more in a row. So, like, for 2 weeks straight, every day, One user will have to make more than 5,000 API requests to Dynamics, which for a person, it's highly unlikely. I mean, you would have to sit there and just clickety clackety, right, in Dynamics or in your system, opening records, reading, moving, doing stuff in bulk. And I still think it will be, really, really hard for you to get to those numbers. But of course, users are leveraged with this kind of license for things like integration. So if you're thinking about an integration with another system, 5,000 API requests sounds feasible, that you will be exchanging 5,000 records back and forward throughout the day. But remember, these API request limits are based on a cumulative, kind of quota from the whole company. So if you do have those 5 users that I talked about earlier, that's 25,000 API requests a day that you have as a limit. So some people would use 100, some people would use 500, some people will use 1,000, and then maybe you have a user that uses 20,000 of them. That's fine. Microsoft will not flag you for it. It's like, that's fine, no problem. But if you go over, and I think, man, I wish I had it in front of me. He said something like, if you go over by, something like by, if you abuse it, whatever that means. If we think you're abusing it for like 14 days in a row, then maybe we'll, disable the user. I find it hard to believe that Microsoft would just disable a user. Maybe they'll do it. And if they do it, you deserve it. I'm just going to, because they're giving you so much flexibility and leeway and like do what you want kind of thing, that if you are one of those companies that gets a user disabled, you probably deserved it to have it disabled. I'm just going to say that, right? So yes, it's not completely unlimited. Like you can do whatever you want as much as you want. In terms of access though, to functionality, to entities, to stuff like that, it's virtually unlimited. Even though there's limits behind the scenes like storage limitations and API requests and things like that. So that's $20 a month. Then we move on to the next one, which was the already insanely cheap $10 a month per app plan. And I quote back from the article, the PowerApps per app plan will be priced at $5 per user per app per month, a decrease from a previous $10 per user per app per month. Like the per user plan, the per app plan will also be available across the same commerce channels without any license minimums or other purchase requirements. This is bananas. This is crazy. $5 a month without any requirements. So on that example of the company with 5 employees, you could potentially say that one of the employees who's the admin will pay $20 for unlimited access to everything. And then the other 4 employees will have access to a model-driven app, maybe a Canvas app if they get, fancy. But the other 4 employees will pay $5 a month. That's $20 plus $20 of the other user, $40 a month to run a world-class platform CRM hosted solution. It's insane. Like, I don't know how else to say how happy I am to see this. And I get it. As a Microsoft partner, I'm supposed to want Microsoft to make $1 gazillion. Because if they're making $1 gazillion, that means I'm also doing a lot of work. They're growing, I'm growing, we're all happy. But honestly, in some of these scenarios, and I think Microsoft would agree with me on this, in some of these scenarios, customers are paying for a bunch of functionality they don't need. They just don't need it. They don't need all of these first-party stuff. And they can save a ton of money and use that budget to create the application. I mean, in some of these cases, creating the application is a few tens of thousands of dollars. Like you might have to pay out of pocket $30,000 to get started, but then you'll pay $40 a month. I mean, it's crazy. It's so much cheaper than it used to be. Back to the article. Additionally, we're simplifying entitlements for the per app plan by providing users with the ability to run one app or access one portal, in contrast with the current entitlement of 2 apps and 1 portal. This approach more directly aligns with the plan's intent of providing flexibility for customers seeking to license users one app at a time, which is the way they did it before. So I don't know if this is saying that you no longer have access to the canvas and the model driven at the same time. I've always just thought of it of one app for $10. Like that's the way it is. Like I said, because these apps are custom, you can create whatever you want. You can have as many apps as you want. So you can have 200 apps, one app for each user, and it's custom for that user with the views they need, the functionality they need, forms, everything exactly for that user, and that user pays $10 a month. Now they'll pay $5 a month. It's amazing. Let's see. Customers with existing per app plan subscriptions purchased prior to October 1st, 2021 will maintain the current entitlement for the duration of their agreement term. So if you have an agreement with them, let's say it's for a year, once your year expires, you can hop on this $5 a month, bandwagon, which I think is awesome. In the interim, here's another kicker. In the interim, prior to October 1st, availability of the PowerApps limited time promotional offer is extended. This is what I wanted to see. This is what I thought it wasn't going to happen. I thought June 30th was going to come and they would not change anything. They would sort of be like, okay, guys, fiscal year's over. Whew, we missed that one. That was awesome. We keep our jobs back to normal, $10 a month. Nope, that's not what they did. They are extending the promotion that was supposed to expire on June 30th all the way to September 30th, which is the day before October 1st kicks in and the new pricing takes place. So they're saying eligible customers interested in taking advantage of the reduced pricing can select from these promotional offers. Number one, the per user price of $12 a month with a minimum purchase of 5,000 licenses, and $3 for the per app plan that I talked about before with a minimum purchase of 200 licenses. So that is exactly the promotion that they had until June 30th. And basically everything about the offer the way it was before stays in place all the way till the end of September. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like, how can I get into this? Just contact your CSP. If your CSP, your cloud solution provider, has knowledge about Dynamics, they've been staying on top of it the way I have, they'll be able to hook you up and help you out with it. Even if you are, for example, considering adding like a few more licenses or whatever it is, just buy 200. Buy 200 licenses. You're going to get the quotas for APIs, API requests for storage and all of that, and you will pay $600 a month. You can always, if you're assuming that you're outside of the contract, you can always just cancel out the ones that you were paying $10 a month and reassign the ones that are $3 a month, right? So just plan it that way. And then they wrap up the excellent, again, release from July 1st, saying, lastly, we also recently made PowerApps Portal's login capacity available at a reduced price for eligible customers purchasing large volumes of sessions. This includes the addition of a limited time offer for capacity tier 4, which is 25,000 or more logins a month, and tier 5, which is 100,000 or more logins a month, which join the existing offers available for capacity ranging from 100 to 5,000 logins a month. With these limited time offers, PowerApp Portal's login capacity is available for a price as low as $12 per unit per month for the tier 5 capacity. I have no idea what that means. Maybe I need Nick to come in the show and kind of explain what this means. But basically, as far as I read it, if you have an active portal and people are logging in and they're using it and, you're getting value from it, you can pay less and get more from your portal, either more logins or, lower the price of your existing ones or whatever it is. They are encouraging, people to use the functionality that they are already buying. And I really, really appreciate that from Microsoft. They're coming in and saying, look, we want people to pay for what they need, but once they pay for what they need, we want them to use it. And this is not new. They've been doing this for a long time. They have customer success managers that are really rated on how many of the licenses that people bought are being used. Microsoft is not like a gym. In a gym, you want people to register and never come, right? That's how gyms make money. And that's why you have, gyms here in the US, for example, like Planet Fitness, where you pay like $10 a month or something to be a gym member. They have tens of thousands of members, but the gym only has a handful of equipment. So they are counting on people signing up and not going to the gym, which is what most of us do, right? Register for the gym, never go. They won that. That's not Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't want people to register for Dynamics and don't use it. That's not what they want. They want people to use it. And they want it so much that they pay these highly skilled professionals a lot of money to literally meet with you and figure out ways in which you should be using the system you're already paying for. This is at no cost, by the way. I've never heard Microsoft charging anyone for a customer success manager. It's assigned to you, and they are there to help you use what you're paying for. It's unbelievable, right? I don't know of anything else, any other company. Like, I've never gotten a call from Netflix being like, hey, we notice you're paying for Netflix for 3 devices at the same time, but you guys only watching one of the TVs, and sometimes you should watch more. Never, not once from any company I've ever gotten a call saying you're paying for something and not using it. You should use it more. Microsoft is the only company that I know, and maybe there's a bunch out there, but me personally, that I know that does this. They're the only one, right? So I'm excited. I'm happy that they are cutting the prices by 50%. I think this furthers my argument that I've been having for years that people should get off Dynamics and switch to PowerApps. It's the exact same platform, exact same technology, all of their skills. If you're a CRM administrator, and you're used to dealing with creating entities and modifying security roles and messing with the settings and, keeping track of quotas and upgrades and stuff like that. All of those things, 100% of those things will be translatable to PowerApps. All of those skills. Now, obviously, the administration section and all of that is changing. We're switching from doing all of the administration inside of Dynamics and customizations and stuff to do it more on the PowerApps Maker portal. They started that a couple years ago, and they continue to enhance it, and more and more and more is going to that portal. So that switch to the PowerApps Maker is going to happen whether you stay paying $95 a month or you kind of open up your eyes and switch to $5 a month. Instead of 95, 5. So I was just super excited about this article. I wanted to share with you. Very, very impressed. Very, very happy for the changes they made. Unlike Microsoft, the press release is very, very short. It literally is like 10 sentences. Like, guys, here's the deal. Starting October 1st, we're cutting everything to half price. Thank you very much. Like, that's basically what it was. There wasn't any caveats in here. There wasn't anything like, well, as long as you buy Office, as long as you're a Teams, customer, as long as you're using, a Windows Phone. No, they don't care. It's sort of like going forward is half price. That's it. Thank you very much. Buy more and use it, by the way. And we want to make sure you use it. It's amazing. So, unbelievable. Very excited about that. I will wrap up the episode with some news about the show. I'm really, really contemplating to dial back the show to once a month. I think that I'm going to shoot for hosting the show at least, the first Sunday of every month. I will be releasing a new episode. And I say Sunday because I release it on Sunday because that's Monday in Australia and New Zealand. I want those guys to have it like the first Monday of every month. So I will release it on Sundays. But I'm going to go back, for the first time. I started this in May of 2017, doing it every 2 weeks. And I am, I'm really struggling to keep up now. Before, like, I remember, at the beginning, I was able to record 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes in a row. Like, I would have 2 months worth of content already lined up to go. But, changes in work and life, that came up have been pushing me away from having the time to give you. So because of that, the podcast is not going anywhere. It's just going to switch to once a month, at least from my perspective. I always have an open invite to other MVPs to come and host. I always encourage people to do that. So you might hear other MVPs maybe hosting, maybe that other episode. So maybe the show will still come up twice a month, every 2 weeks, but me personally, I can only host it going forward once a month. So you might hear more hosts going forward, or you might hear less episodes of the MVP podcast releasing over time, but I really want to take my time to record them and commit to it, and I don't think I can commit to every 2 weeks, going forward. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I hope that you enjoyed learning about this promotion. If you didn't know already about it, I hope that if you're here in the US or even outside the US, as long as you're allowed to travel, you come to Texas in October so we can meet in person, share some stories, learn from each other. Looking forward to that very much. And as always, please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. It really helps me tremendously to see how many people are subscribed and how many people are going to be listening to this episode once it comes out. And I will, as of now, continue to release weekly tips in our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, search for CRM MVP or CRM MVP podcast, and you will find our channel. I think it's called CRM MVP Media. And we have a 2-Minute Tuesday series. So every week we release an episode, on YouTube. And it's a very short tip. It's not always hosted by me, although the vast majority are. But it's a quick way to sit down for 5 minutes when, take a quick break and learn something new. So go ahead and check that out and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you on the next one.